There's a lot of talk this weekend, and it started last week with an interview. Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, dear leader, did a interview with Pete Thamel, and he discussed his thoughts on expanding the NCAA basketball tournament, which most of us think is perfect, or damn near perfect. And we don't want it expanded, but he talked about how UCLA had made a run out of the Dayton the first four, all the way to a Final Four, and Syracuse had made a run from the first four to the Sweet 16 a few years ago. And his quote was, "That just tells you that the bandwidth inside the top 50 is highly competitive." He said, "We are giving away highly competitive opportunities for automatic qualifiers, in parentheses, from smaller leagues. And I think that pressure is going to rise as we have more competitive basketball leagues at the top end because of expansion." This made a lot of people nervous, including myself, because it quite literally the term giving away is a sense that, like, the spots in the NCAA basketball tournament are owned by the big conferences, and they're just being nice by including these other leagues. And it was a stunning statement from Sankey, who has been around, because it's like the entire reason this is so wildly popular, not the entire, but a large portion, is because of this ridiculous idea that anybody can get into it. And you have all these teams from, and you didn't have to go to a big famous school or something, and all of a sudden you're in, Vermont is in for like the third time in a row, maybe. Vermont's a mainstay. My gosh. Your little school can make it, and you're in. Everyone's got a chance. Everybody in the pool. And sometimes, increasingly too, FAU makes the Final Four. Florida State, or Miami, FAU, right? Or San Diego State, or St. Peter's goes. And it struck a lot of people, and I think there was a lot of angst about it, because it struck them as like, here's the most powerful guy in college athletics, completely missing the point. And for all you can fear and feel bad for Providence or Seton Hall or St. John's or Oklahoma or these schools, Indiana State, this is how the system works, right? We don't need to all of a sudden just take away bids or go to this huge thing and eliminate the excitement of this weekend that we already have. Now, he spoke again to reporters at the SEC Championship, and he wanted to make it clear that he wasn't saying, he's just his opinion to maybe study it. Nothing is static. And he said, "I take the example, Ole Miss baseball, last team in won a national championship. This was a few years ago. He says baseball is different. It's actually less random than basketball, which is true. You have to win a series. It's double elimination. And it's simply an observation. We leave some highly competitive teams out that can justify their participation. That's part of the review. That should be part of the conversation. Because, again, we keep adding team. Nobody seems to want to deal with the volume of Division I teams increasing. There are now 362 Division I teams. So we're going to have to continue to adapt. I think that's healthy conversation." He said, "The first time I made a comment, within 2 minutes, people said, 'That's the worst idea.' I said, 'Well, that's actually not an intellectual exercise. I hope there's some effort to think through things. You have to give credit to teams like St. Peter's a couple years ago, Florida Atlantic's run. They're great stories. We certainly want to respect those great stories, but things continue to change. There's nothing wrong with the review. And again, I think it's a healthy conversation.'" And that's basically it. He's just putting out his opinion. Pat, should we be nervous that Sankey's coming for the tournament? What my fear here is that because we had 5 bid stealers, and probably this is going to get muted because it was the Big East who took it on the chin, not the SEC or the ACC. But because of this, there'll be renewed interest in expanding the tournament.
100%. I think be careful. All of the talk about, that was so hard to pick these teams and we left out some good teams is just feeding the what the power conferences want, which is a bigger tournament with more of their teams in it. And I feel bad. Like, I think Indiana State should have been in, and I could find a couple teams that I would take out to put them in. But that doesn't mean, let's go to 72 to make sure, things get taken care of there. So, no, this is a bad idea that is going to get further fuel, I think, from this particular selection conundrum.